You're going to have to decide if you want to be your dad or if you want to be you. And at that moment, I'm like, wow, okay, I don't want to be my dad. I love my dad so much, but I don't want to be him. And I understand, like, I appreciate everything that he's always been a hardworking man and very humble, but he also had a very tough upbringing.
Welcome to Fatherhood Voices, breaking the toxic cycle. Dive in as real dads bear all, the mess ups, make-ups, and every heartfelt moment in between. It's raw, it's real, and it might just change the way you see family.
Welcome to another episode of Fatherhood Voices. Now, today I have a special guest, and this is someone that I've now known for a couple of years. I've journeyed with him in ceremony, I've sat with him in just masterminds. We've had intimate conversations, we've broken down the barriers about fatherhood, family, relationships. And I'm excited to introduce my brother, Juan Gallegos. Welcome to today's episode.
Thank you so much, my brother. It's an honor to be here with you. Thank you so much.
No, I'm excited. And what I want you to do is kind of share a little bit about who you are, where you live, and then we'll just we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. So my name is Juan Gallegos, been in the real estate industry for the past 23 years. I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm married and I'm a father to four beautiful kids that I love with all my heart.
And it was so awesome because I got to experience one of your family events in the last 2 years, and that was your daughter's quinceañera.
Yeah.
And, just to see you guys all come together and just the tradition and to mesh the cultural tradition between Mexico and America and to just keep that alive, that was such a beautiful moment to be a part of. So thank you for that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
So Juan Gallegos. So where does Juan Gallegos come from? So you're in Denver, Colorado right now, but you didn't start in Denver. You started somewhere far, far away in another country.
Yeah. So to tell you a little bit about my story, my dad used to travel around the U.S. for quite a bit. He was working for an oil industry, and the reason I say this is because I was born actually in Utah, Cedar City, Utah.
What?
Yeah, you probably didn't know this, Edward, but I was born in Cedar City, Utah, in a very young age. I think I was about 3 or 4 years old. I was brought back to Mexico. And then in Mexico, that's where my upbringing came about because I didn't immigrate back into the United States until I was about 10 years old. So by that time, I already had done some schooling. That's where I learned how to read, how to write in Spanish. And I have very, very beautiful memories back, obviously, in my upbringing down in Mexico and been here for about 34 years now.
Wow. Now, what part of Mexico, if you don't mind me asking? And then also, um, how was it like growing up in Mexico? And then were you in a two-parent household, or what did that dynamic look like?
Yeah, so I'm from Guadalajara, Jalisco. I think that was the first question you were asking me. And then the second thing is that I had mentioned about my father that he was living in the US and he actually stayed living in the US while my mom was taking care of us down in Mexico. He would go back and visit us here, a couple times, 3 times a year. But for the most part, I did not see my father very often. There was a time frame that he did move back with us in Mexico, and was doing a lot of hard work and things like that. But a lot of my upbringing was with my mother. She's the one that was kind of the head host of the family, head hold of the family. Sorry, and she was the one that had to do the pretty much both roles for her kids.
Now, when you were young, did you know? I know you knew your father was working in the United States and providing for you and the family. But did you feel that gap of not having a father in your life? I mean, I know your mom stepped in for that role, but how did that look like for you? As a child, and you're growing up in Guadalajara, and then maybe you have friends that have their dad in their lives. How did that look like for you as a child?
Yeah. And this is, Edward, again, this is I love what you're doing because it gets very intimate and it gets very deep. These type of conversations, you just can't have them with anybody, right? So, to answer that question, my mom had to do both roles, but I think, and I say that I love my mom so much, and now I understand a lot of my healing and what the journeys that I've been through, have helped me understand exactly what space my mom was in that moment. But my mom was very physical abusive. Not in, I don't wanna put it in the way that it was her intention to hurt us or to cause any type of pain. No, because my mother has been always a beautiful mother. The thing is that she just didn't know any better. With her playing both roles, I think, she was coming from a space that, "Man, I have to do the masculine role, and I have to really set my foot down on the ground with these kids because I don't want them to turn out to be bad kids when they grow up. I want them to be good kids." Now throughout that teachings of hers and, my upbringing, it was a lot of that. It was a lot of physical abuse, in a sense, uh, and growing up without a father really, um, I I never was able to build that relationship of communication and a close relationship with my father because he was, in a way, never around, to be honest with you. It was always my mother around.
Now, is your father still alive?
He's definitely still alive. Now, when we were down in Mexico, it's a lot of work. We've always my mom has always been a hustler, Edward, and we went from selling corn to and down in Mexico, it's very popular and very common for you to sell dinner out of your garage, for example, to the public. So my mom did that for a bit. Um, we were going back and forth with her. We sold ice cream and things like that, and we were always super, super busy. At that moment, I just didn't realize how much I really needed my father, around, right? Um, and then kind of fast forward a little bit, we came back to the United States again when I was 10 years old, and now I got the opportunity to live in a household with a mother and a father as well, Edward.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we're
Mhm.
definitely going to touch on that. I want to go back to something that you said that was very important, and that's your mom, stepping in as a role of the mother and father, and then being a little bit stronger, um, more with the hand. Because it's unfortunate that, and this was a different situation because your father was in another country generating money, for you guys to provide. But there's a lot of fathers that choose not to be in their children's lives because they don't want that responsibility. And so the mother steps in and they step into their masculine. We talk about the masculine and feminine, as we've dabbled into this spiritual realm. But they step into that masculine because they're trying to compensate for the father not being there. And what happens is they overcompensate. And so sometimes instead of it, there is no balance because they don't have a barometer, anything to gauge it. So it does lead to that more physical abuse, like more, stricter. And you as a child now with all this work you've done, I've got to ask you this question. Now, knowing what you know now, and if you could go back, what would you share with a mother that's in that situation that maybe has a heavy hand and to not leave a child with those scars emotionally?
Wow. Yeah, I would tell her, wow. Nobody had asked me that. I love my mom so much, Edward. She's still alive and I love her so much. I would go back and tell her, I would hug her, show her my love. Just go back to her and tell her how much I appreciate everything that she's done for us. There's no need for that abuse. She just didn't know any better.
Mhm.
And, um, and I would go back and to that beautiful lady and tell her, "Thank you." Now I know, and, a lot of that, that I had to go through, um, right, while she was hitting me and things like that, not only me, but my siblings at that moment, I just didn't know what was going through her mind. Now I understand. Now I completely understand, and now, because of the work that I've done and the inner healing work that I've done, Edward, it's that much important for me as a father to have gone through my healing journey, and I'm still learning, right? I'm not done. It's continu I'm evolving, I'm continuously growing, um, but this is exactly why I needed to go through my journey so that I could heal that side and not cause the same pain with my kids. Or at least try to prevent it as much as possible.
This is powerful, and just for you moms out there, because um our biggest following, believe it or not, is women right now that are dealing with fathers that aren't present in their children's life. And you're hearing it firsthand from someone that is sharing with you moms out there. um as you step into that role, you don't have to lead with fear, you don't have to lead with a heavy hand. And I'm a big advocate that, if the father's not in the life because of work obligations or because they choose not to, find that male figure. It could be a brother, it could be an uncle, it could be a grandfather, somebody that you respect, that you think could step in, because just because the father's not in the picture, it doesn't mean that you still can't provide um, a role model for your children, to someone for them to look up to, someone that can guide them. And I say this very delicately because it has to be the right person. Because if it's a toxic person that's an alcoholic, then you're doing it you're doing it wrong. But and just to hear Juan share that, if he could go back, he would just tell his mom, like, "I love you," and just you know, what I've learned in my journey is that, in the end, love conquers all. Even when we're down, even when we're down and out, and we think like, why is it always the bad people win, or, you know, but it's not. In the end, love will always prevail. So that right there is just a shout out to you moms, and then also to you fathers that aren't there. And maybe it's because of work obligations. Really, really take a look at how important that job is to you. How important is it for you to be away from your family? Because what are you leaving on the table? You're leaving a lot of missed memories. You're leaving a lot of experiences with your children. And, I just had someone on last week that he was one of the trainers for a football team, and had like his dream job. It's football or baseball. I'm going blank right now because it's already emotional. And but when he found out he was gonna be a father, he was like 27, 28. He had his dream job. He left his dream job and it was for a major league team. He left his dream job because he wanted to be a father. And that just kind of left just like this lasting impression on me, because I wasn't a father that was present. I was a workaholic. And so even though I was physically here in the country, I can honestly tell you, Juan, and I'm being completely vulnerable, I wasn't present for my girls. And now I'm dealing with the aftermath. So they're grown adults, and now it's trying to heal that relationship, which, yeah, a lot of people think, oh, you haven't figured it out and you're doing this podcast. That fuck no. It's a work in progress. We take a step forward.
Yeah.
Sometimes we take 2 to 3 steps backwards. And especially when they're adult children and they have their own opinions now, and they have their own trauma that we've instilled in them. Yeah, it's a shit show. So I'm sorry to get off that tangent, but
Yeah.
yeah, the importance of a father is critical, and you're an example of what you shared, with that.
Thank you, Edward. With just what you shared right there. So the transition from my upbringing with my mother, right? Being the hard hand, and then when we immigrated back to the US, well, culturally, right? Culturally, my mom always instilled in me and in my siblings that by the time we were 18, we needed to be out of the house.
Yeah.
Like by the time we were 18, we were already considered adults. And by the time we were 18, we had already needed to figure things out. And we need to go out there and grind. So when we immigrated back to the US, I started working at the flea market selling fruits and vegetables. My brother put his little CD cassette store at the flea market and helped him throughout that as well. So that obviously taught me a lot of it, gave me a lot of tools to end up doing what I'm doing right now. Um, but by the time I was 18, my mind, I didn't even knew what I wanted to do with my life. I went to college because all my friends were going to college, but I truly didn't even knew why I was going to college. And then, my wife, at the time, she comes around when I'm 19. All of a sudden, a few months into the relationship, she tells me she's pregnant. And then all of a sudden, 19 years old, 20, it's like, wow, now I have to figure things out because now I'm going to be a father. Um, and those are the type of things that I was not ready. I did not felt ready at that moment. 2, I didn't have a solid foundation of what a male or a husband should be to my beautiful wife, or what a father should be, or what kind of father I wanted to be, once I started growing my family. At that time, it was just, wow, she's pregnant? Okay, well, I guess I have to start working now because then that's what a man should do, just start working and provide. But I didn't know, I didn't have no guidance. I didn't know how to begin all of those things. And um, I just started working and working away at work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, a lot of the times. And not present, like you just had mentioned, not present, sometimes even showing up late to my kids' birthday parties and things like that. And my wife, sometimes not even showing up for, or being late at her anniversaries and things like that. So even though, I mean, I try to make some things happen, right? Because I was still conscious about some things that I needed to do, but at the same time, I was under a a paper, or I was under the impression, if I could say that, Edward, that, as long as the male was out there grinding it out, working hard, providing for the bills, providing a home, that's what I needed to do, and that was it. Like, I didn't have to do anything else, that was what I needed to do, right? Mhm,
My
and
gosh,
that was
something just hit me right now. I've got to interrupt you.
you're good, bro. Go, go,
Information
go.
just wait for it. I just had a download, okay? You became your father.
Yeah. Wow.
You your father
Yeah. Yeah.
working this week, not present.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever made that correlation, but just as you're talking, I'm thinking about how your father wasn't there and he was in another country, but even though you were in the same country with your wife and now your children to be, you step into the role of your father. You
Yeah,
followed in
bro.
his footsteps.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's powerful. And I can relate because I was the same way.
Yeah.
Wow. You
Yeah,
know,
brother.
when you found out that you were gonna be a father, what were your thoughts? Were you scared? Were you I don't want to repeat the cycle? What kind of went through your mind? Because you're now here, you're here and in your mindset, there's this cultural difference. If you gotta work hard, provide for your family, and now you've got to be out the house and what's going through your mind?
Yeah, at that moment, I was scared, man. I gotta be completely honest, I was scared. That I was
What
scared,
did
I didn't know what to do.
what did um was there anything that helped to ease your fear, or did you just like, okay, it is what it is, and we're just gonna figure it out? Or did you reach out to any family members or friends for advice or, grab any book? So many books out there and shit, and we always pick up books on sales and marketing, but never pick up books on how to be a better father or a better husband or a better brother, know?
No, I've always been like, soon after I started working in the real estate industry, and it was my wife's uncle that they own or he owned a brokerage, but I had always been like very in that sense. I had at that moment I was never open about my things, like never open, like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? I was always like seeing, okay, I like how this guy treats his wife. Okay, well, I'm gonna be a little bit like that. Oh, I like how this person is, and I was always seeing like, okay, how I wanted to be, or how was I supposed to act? Because at that moment, I didn't even knew what a husband was or what I needed to do. And I think for the majority, like we don't know, but at that moment, I was super scared. I just didn't know because my father was in a way like never around. I just didn't know what type of role I needed to pick up after. Because even when we immigrated over here, even though my father was always working, he also was a little physical abusive with us as well. Um, so not only was I getting it from my mom, but also from my father. And when we had our first kid, our first child, um, if I can share something with you, Edward, my wife has been so powerful in this and in the healing process with me. But when we had our first child, I started spanking him. Um, and there was a couple times that I even hit him with the belt. And every time that I hit him, I would cry. I would go back to my wife and cry. She's like, "What happened?" And I was like, I feel like I'm taking after my dad's role, and I just don't want to be that physical abusive my kids. And it really, at that moment, it really hurted me. And then one day, I mean, I only hit him with the belt like a couple times, 3 times. But in that moment, she said, "You know what? You're gonna have to decide to break those chains. You're gonna have to decide if you want to be your dad or if you want to be you." And at that moment, I'm like, "Wow, okay, I don't want to be my dad. I I love my dad so much, man, but I don't want to be him. I d- I don't want to be him." And I understand, like, I appreciate everything that he's always been a hardworking man and very humble, but he also had a very tough upbringing. So now when I started going back and started correlating the upbringing of my mom and the upbringing of my father, everything started making sense, Edward. Everything started making sense of why my mom was the way she was and why my dad was the way he was. Like, not that long ago, my dad is already like 65 years old. I remember not that long ago, we went out to eat at a restaurant. I told him, "Dad, let me ask you a question. Did your dad ever told you that he loved you?" He started crying, Edward. I'm like, "Dad, would you ever have wished to have a better relationship with your own father?" He started crying. My dad at 65 years old, where this Mexican guy, like macho, like he never cried ever. And at that moment, he started bawling. He's like, "There was nobody that I wanted to have a better relationship with than my father, and he was never there." And, so that hit me right there, and I'm like, "Dad, I love you so much." Because now I understand, right, Edward? Now I understand. Now I get it. Now I see them and with open hearts, and I healed that part of me. Um, I'm crying right now because I know there's a lot of people that are listening to this, podcast, and in some way or form, they may relate with what I'm sharing right now. But the these tears are tears of joy, believe it or not. They're tears that have helped me understand and love my parents for who they are and for what they went through and for their upbringing because they never intentionally meant to cause me any harm or my siblings. They never they didn't woke up one morning and say, "Oh, today I'm gonna cause harm to Juan, and I'm gonna hit him, and I'm gonna be this, and I'm gonna be" No, because you know what? They also taught me very valuable things in life that I still carry with me. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful parents, but now I know. Now I get it. Now I understand. I understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, thank you for being so vulnerable. It is a guy cry all the time on the podcast. In plant medicine, it was 27 years before my heart opened up. And that was, when I started my journey in February of 2020. And man, it really put me in touch with my emotions, which I'm glad because now I can literally watch a movie and I just start bawling and that's okay because I just, for so long I lived in that masculine and ego and it's nice to try to find balance, I don't know, for a long time, I think I kind of shifted into the feminine, and it was but it's trying to find that balance. Um, I'm going to go back real fast because I do want to touch on how it looked like when now your father's in your life and now you're a child. And then I definitely want to come back to this because there's some medicine there for a lot of people. So you come to the US, back to the US, and now your dad's living with you in the US or in Guadalajara.
In the US.
Okay, so it's your siblings and your mom and dad. So now you're in this home. How old are you? And then what does it look like? Like I'm sure he's still working a lot, but now you're saying, okay, now you have your mom who has a heavy hand. Now dad has a heavy hand. So were there times where you were just like, fuck, man, I wish we were not together, like we were back in Mexico because now I'm getting like double the, the abuse, so to speak, or were you
Yeah.
happy you were finally in a complete household, so to speak?
Yeah, a complete household. There was love, definitely love in our household for sure. Yes, my dad and my mom had a hard hand, but they were also loving in their own way, and I felt that. I felt it. Um, and so when we moved out to the U.S., it was always work, 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 work. Family time, very little. Quality time, very little. Not that much, to be honest with you. So it was a lot of work, 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 and that was my mom's way of keeping us busy because the more busier we were, the less we were going to be in trouble out there, the less we were gonna be hanging out with the wrong crowd, the less we were gonna be doing stupid things out there, the less we were gonna be involved in drugs, the less we were gonna the so the busier we were.
Do you believe that? I gotta ask you, do you believe that? Okay, so now with what you know and all that, do you really believe that helps? Or does that mess up your kids even more? Because that's still something very common in a Latino cultura. So I need to
Yeah.
ask you, do you believe that's true? That by keeping you super, super busy, that kept you away from gangs and drugs and bad people? Or do you think it was over exaggerated?
I think it
Because
was
that's a
over honestly, I think it was over exaggerated.
yeah.
I honestly think so. It didn't give me an opportunity to find out and live, and be creative on the things that I wanted to do at that moment, Edward. Yeah, in a way, it also kept me out of trouble, but I think that's where the healing part comes into, right? My mom and my dad were not they didn't go through a similar journey that I went through. They're in their own journey and they can choose to heal if they choose to, right? And that's their decision. Um, but now it's like, okay, I don't think it's keeping somebody super, super busy. More than anything is what space do we come from and how do we guide our kids so that they can start making the right decisions for themselves? Because whatever's right for me may not be right for them. So it's essentially for me, it's what's going to give you that love, son? What's going to give you that peace, that happiness? I mean, if you're out there doing heroin, is that truly going to give you peace? Is that truly gonna make you happy? And And is that truly going to give you the lifestyle that you truly want and seek, right? And it's about guiding. I think more than anything as parents now, this is my perspective. It's about with love, guiding with love. Um, yeah, I mean, I think are we responsible in a way to show them and tell them, like, maybe question, why did you make that decision? How is that decision making you feel now at this moment? Now, is that the path you want to follow, or do you want to follow a different path and things like that? I just think there's a lot more to being a parent than than we were programmed to think or believe that we needed to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Let me ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you two questions, but I'm gonna start with the one that's not the nicest question. Um, as a child, can you share a moment where your dad let you down or disappointed with you that you remember?
My dad, um, I mean, I just think that I hold a grudge against my dad for a bit just because he wasn't around. I mean,
Okay.
if I can tell you something that I had never built that relationship with my father when I was a little kid. I would s- I would see my older brother, for example, having that relationship with my father, but with me, I didn't felt that connection for a while.
Okay. And what about a moment as a child that you remember your father and it puts a smile on your face? What's a moment that you remember? It could be going to the store, it could be doing something together. What's one moment that you look back and go like, that's a childhood memory?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hanging out with him, going to his soccer games.
Mm,
I just wanted to be around my dad. I just wanted to be around him. I just wanted to be around him when he was happy. And that actually brings back a memory that also the happiest moments that at times I would see my dad, it was when he was drinking. When he was drinking. Yeah, those were sometimes the happiest moments, and, my dad was happy, and he would, dance at the house and sing and be with his brothers and just listen to music, and he was just happy. He was just happy, and, when as I grew up older, I correlated alcohol as well into, thinking that was it. That was it. I mean, if I drank alcohol, I was gonna be happy. And, through my healing journey, I that I allowed myself to heal that and I correlated the way I used to drink with in a sense, with my dad's happiness. I mean, because I thought that was what made me happy, and no, and that wasn't it.
no, I can definitely relate to that because I was fortunate enough that in my first ceremony I purged alcohol, which is going to be 5 years now. And I remember, not only seeing my father, but even family members who would drink and then they would get happy. The ego would come down, the heart would open. It's like,
Yeah.
and they're happy. But then, and I'll use the Redarties as an example because then my family went from dancing and laughter and happy. And then as they kept drinking, it went to yelling, pushing, and fighting. And then it just went to fucking chaos. And then after the shit show and the fucking party was destroyed, then it went to crying. It's like, oh, I want to do this. So it was a cycle every time. And then I repeated this as I started happy. And then it's like, nobody shut me down and took away the alcohol. And then like, okay, bring out the tequila. Forget it. It's over. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be words said that should have been said. And then afterwards, I'm going to be crying by myself. And then repeat the whole cycle the next day on the weekends. Same
Bro,
shit
no.
over and over.
And not with us, it was, not with us, like, with the way it was like always drinking and it was happy moments throughout the entire night. It was there was, like, no violence at that moment. And, yeah, yeah, bro, but that and I yeah, it's funny, but, I kinda transitioned that into my marriage, and unfortunately, due to alcohol, that also brought up, a lot of things, and I remember my first, journey with plant medicine. One of the first things that came up was, that also through alcohol, I was seeking validation and acceptance the relationship that I had built with alcohol, at that moment. I just wanted to be accepted. I just wanted people to I don't know, like, I remember being, at events and I couldn't, I was drinking and, if I had, my mindset at that moment was like, okay, if I leave, if one leaves now, there goes the fun of the party. And I didn't want people to think that, you know, I didn't want people to think that, "Oh, what a boring guy. He's already leaving. Now the party's over. Juan is not the funny guy anymore because he was drinking. He was making us all laugh. Now the party's over. Oh, thanks, Juan. Thank you for leaving." And dude, I mean, there was so many instances where I didn't left because of that reason. Because I was like, man, I was making people laugh, and that's what I wanted to do, just make people laugh and make people feel welcomed, make people feel that we all belonged in a way, shape, or form. But 80 I wanna say about 90% of the problems that I was having with my wife at that moment were actually also due because of alcohol.
Wow.
And it wasn't because I was violent or anything like that. I've never laid a hand on my wife. Never, never, never. But I think it was more like, "Here we go. You're drinking again?" Like, "Here we go." And, "Babe, like, there's a liquor store. I gotta go find a liquor store that is open." Like, it's already 12 AM, 1, 2 AM, and I still wanted to find a liquor store open, bro? Like, those type of things. But thanks to plant medicine, I was able to, uh, rediscover and recreate that relationship that I had with alcohol.
Wow. Well, congratulations to you on that, journey.
Thank you, bro.
Um, Let me ask you about your relationship with your mother and father right now at this moment in time.
Mm.
So I'm sure you went through a process of unraveling over the course of 2 or 3 decades, and so now you're becoming a young adult and you're becoming a husband and a father. And then what does your relationship look like as you're starting to find your way, and then you're starting to repeat these cycles? And so what is it? Yeah, to not confuse it, what does the relationship look like before, as you're now an adult, and then now as you're in a whole different space and you're on this journey of healing and conscientious?
Yeah. So as being a young adult, being lost, but at the same time, from the values that also my mother and my father instilled in me, right? Aside, because they also instilled in me some beautiful values. So because of that, I started working hard and helping other families with their real estate needs and things like that. And um, that helped me, started buying my home and things like that, providing better things for my family. But in 2008, I ended up losing everything, like everything, my house, my cars, absolutely everything. And oh gosh, I'm gonna share something that I've never shared before, Edward. Um, So when I lost everything, I go and I call my mom. She had a rental property, and I call my mom and I tell her, "Mom, can we live at your house for, I just, I just foreclosed on my property and things like that." And my mom said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, Mijo, you can definitely move in." And I'm like, "Okay." At that moment, I fell into a very depressive state that I didn't know that I was in. So I couldn't even, I wasn't even able to pay my mom rent. Right? So as the months went on, bro, like, she asked me for the house. She's like, "Hey, son, I understand you can't pay me for the rent, but I'm gonna have to ask for the house back." And I'm like, "Oh, mom, that's completely fine." So then after that, I go and live at my mother-in-law's basement, bro. And, and then my mother-in-law said, "You know what? You guys are cool to stay here for about 3, 4, 5 months, and then you guys are gonna have to choose what you guys wanna do." And then, like, about 6 months went by, and her husband all of a sudden tells us like, "Hey, you know, it's time. You guys need to find another place to live." Man, at that moment, I saw my wife and my kids, and I'm like, There's no way that I'm putting my family through this. There's absolutely no way." Um, so when I went out there and looked for a different job, and, I spoke to a landlord and told that landlord, Edward, I told him, "Hey, I still haven't gotten paid, but I can promise you that if you give me the keys of your home to rent it, I'm always gonna have your rent when it's due, and I'm never gonna fail you." He looked at me straight in the eyes and said, Son, I believe you. I believe you. I believe you." And from there on out, went back to the grinding mode, started working super hard. But I remember at that moment, having my prayers and telling God, God, if you just give me another opportunity back, um, my wife and my kids are definitely going to rip the benefits of everything that I do from that moment on out. And and yeah, so I started working, and so now throughout my healing journey, I was able to heal all those things, and now the relationship that I have with my father and mother, beautiful, man, beautiful, because now it comes from a space of love and understanding. Comes from a space of empathy and compassion. Now, when I sit down with my mother and father, it's more to listen and understand as much as possible what they want to tell me, right? It's not so much, "Hey, dad, remember you." No, 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 no. Now it's, "Can we have a conversation and just talk away? I just want to hear you. I want to hear what you went through. I want to hear you, what your life is like now, and what were some of the things that, if you could, what were some of the things that you might have done differently? Not that you had to, but what are some of those things and stuff like that." So the connection and relationship that now I have with my father and my mother is super beautiful, Edward. But that's because I allowed myself to heal and open up my heart, um, to my father and mother as well.
You know, you said something very powerful, and I just went through something like that not too long ago with a friend who became a tenant, and then it finally had to end, and he had to move out. And in that moment, there was a lot of anger and hurt, and we went through this whole cycle, and so then he moved out, and then fast forward a month, 2 months later, he says, "Thank you. This was the best thing that could have ever happened because it forced me to step up and get my priorities straight. I got complacent." So when you say that, your mom put these deadlines on you, it's like, okay, it's time to go, mijo. Like I need to, money to pay for the house, now. And so then you move into your mother-in-law's house, and then same thing, they put this deadline on you. And I'm sure at the moment you guys are scrambling, like, oh my gosh, how can you do this to me? You're family. We're family. You're gonna put your grandkids on the street. Like all these emotions are going through. But then it just clicked. Like you're not enabling me anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful message because as parents, we're trying to help our children, but a lot of times we fall in that trap of enabling them.
Mhm.
And I was just speaking to someone the other day whose son is struggling with addiction.
Mm.
And but then they try to be strong, but then they see their son going through these withdrawals. So they give him another $20 to get another fix because they don't want to see him suffer. But they're enabling him. And then when you were sharing this story right now, it just brought back that memory of how they 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 distributed like firm love to you guys. Like, hey, you exhausted it or with your family, and then now you move because I remember that situation too. 2008 was just horrific. Like I said, we all in the industry, we got wiped out,
Mhm.
and but it's almost like it was a blessing in disguise because it forced you to now, definitely have your conversation with God and to have a conversation with your higher self. And then to be able, and I got to tell you, man, that takes balls to be able to go to someone and say, hey, I don't have any money coming in right now, but you know what? I'm going to give you my word as Juan Gallegos that you're going to get paid on time every month. That, wow, w- that, where did that power come from? Like, that's like a shitload of like Tony Robbins seminars or a lot of flat, you know,
No,
to
but
be so much certainty.
that is true, bro. Like, and now I know through suffering comes growth, right? Through
Yeah.
suffering, there's no happiness and all these beautiful things if they don't come through sufferings, and now I know it's those things that I'm like, okay, at that moment, nobody's gonna come and save me. Like, I'm the one that needs to go out there, make it happen for myself and my beautiful wife and kids. I'm the one that needs to happen. Now, I'm the one that needs to go out there and create the lifestyle that I want for my wife and my kids. And there's no holding me back. Let's go. Like, let's go. Like, no, I know how to work. Yes, I know how to work. Do I still have all my faculties and capabilities? Yes, I do. Then what's holding me back? Absolutely nothing. My limiting beliefs and my victimizing state that I was in at that moment, right? Like oh, pobrecito, mira, and it's like, bro, at the end of the day, nobody cares. Like, nobody cares what state you are in that at that moment. You need to step out of that little box that you think everybody's gonna have, just feel, just feel that you deserve to be suffering there all the time. No, like, nobody cares, like, or, you share your story, then you move on. Life goes on. Let's go. Like, there's no holding back, like, let's go, like, and yeah, so I think, those are just the inner self-talks and things like that, and, few years later, then I'm out there sitting with the plant medicine with my brother Edward, and now we're hugging each other because now we get all these messages and we're like, well, like
Uh,
yeah, bro.
I think you just created your 3 or 4 minute recruiting video just with your share right there. Like that testimonial right there, I think needs to go on your landing page for recruitment because you basically just laid out your testimony. Basically, you were down and out, and then how through your suffering, you were able to um, rebuild like a phoenix rising from the ashes. So yeah, I think you have your recruitment video there now. All the agents struggling. So hopping and yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
You know, is there anything that if there's one thing you could do with your father before he passes away, what's that one thing you would like to do with him?
Yeah, I want to travel, just me and him. Um, yeah, that's a great question. I just wanna be me and him, and he always goes back and forth to Mexico, um, and, sometimes he spends a lot of time out there, and you know what? That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Thank you for that beautiful question. I just wanna travel with him, just me and him, just
When are you
me
going
and
to do it?
him.
When are you going to do it?
Uh, December.
December of this year?
Yes, December of this year.
Okay, December this year. So you guys have all heard it here. So now we're going to hold Juan accountable that in December of this year, he's going to travel with his dad to where?
Yes, I'm gonna travel with him to, Mexico City.
Okay.
Mexico City.
And maybe, just maybe, from Mexico City, fly to another country.
Yeah.
Maybe fly to
Yeah.
another country because, because he's so accustomed to Mexico and so forth, it's easy to fall into your patterns and
Yeah.
behaviors and oh, these restaurants and oh, let's go see family. But I'm going to challenge you to maybe even rethink that Mexico trip and maybe do it somewhere where both of you have never been.
It's hard.
Because I think that would create real, it's going to make it uncomfortable because you guys are both in a new place, but it's going to force you guys to depend on each other
Yeah.
as father and
Wow.
son. Because he's not in his comfort zone anymore. You're not in comfort zone because you know it, but now you guys are in a new place and now you guys are relying on each other. So I'm gonna challenge you to go to Guatemala, Nicaragua, freaking Japan. I don't know, but somewhere different where you guys are gonna get to experience memories, first time memories together.
Yes. Yes,
That
that's beautiful. Makes total sense. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Mexico can wait. He's out there all the time.
fully. That is
Yeah,
so
brother.
cool. That is so cool. And what about with mom? What would you like to do with mom?
With my mother, my mom, she's been through so much. Um, Gosh, if I could, what comes to mind right now is just I want to run right now over to her and just give her a big hug and a big kiss and go to a place where she can find peace, where she can find peace, harmony, love, because she's been through a lot and she's very on her masculine side, a lot on her masculine side. And it'd be so beautiful to be able to provide to her that space where she can just feel love. And if you know of a place, Edward, that I can bring my mom along, I'm just kind of, just talking about what my thoughts are going through right now. But she needs to calm her mind. She needs to calm her mind. If she chooses to, right? And I would
Yes.
love for her to choose love and understand that, you know, just allow life to flow, love to flow. Just allow it and not try to control it so much. Yeah.
Wow. You just reminded me of something. Would your mom ever be open to plant medicine?
You know what? I've spoken to her a couple times and she's like, the little mexicanita, and she's still like, but I totally think she would. Yes, I think she would.
I think that's where your journey is going to start. And let me share with you how I've started my journey with my parents. So, me and my dad didn't have the greatest relationship, growing up. So it's been a work in progress. So we've been healing the relationship, especially over the last couple of years. And so my dad's now set with plant medicine, mushrooms, ayahuasca, and he was on the masculine ego side, and he realizes now through the medicine, how his behaviors, his actions, his ego, how it impacted all of us and people around us. And so he's gone in, he's doing the work, and he's starting to unravel. My mom's been more like very Catholic and more just for, but I'm going to share something that I did that maybe you may consider doing. So, we sometimes hold these deep meditation ceremonies out here, and so last year I invited her to one and to hold space. And we brought in a shaman to serve ayahuasca, and then we had psilocybin. So she participated in the meditation. She participated in the breath work. And then watching the unraveling, watching the people going through the memories of trauma and pain and releasing, and then going through the struggles, and then getting to the end where the ceremony's over and now you're in integration, you're sharing and you're happy, and you have this big smile on your face. It did something to her. It did something to her. It made her curious. Now she's not there yet, but it made her more understanding about why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I leave the country and go sit in ceremonies, why I go to retreats. So, before it was more of a place of fear and, oh, be careful and, where are you going? Now she understands the work that we're doing. And by inviting your mom to hold space, she will start to, because you don't have to sit with medicine to have that experience. And, but by just being in the room energetically and just starting to see, it piques your curiosity. And I can almost guarantee that my mom's gonna be sitting with medicine in the next year or two because she's now starting to see like what's happening around. And as more and more people are in my circle or family are starting to be a little more open minded to it, um, you're starting to see the transformation. So that's one piece of unsolicited advice that I would share with you is if you want to get her a place where to calm her mind, a place of peaceful, it's going to start in here.
Yeah.
There's no place you can take her other than to start to introduce her to a breathwork session, a meditation, hape, maybe a microdose. Um, but if you start to sprinkle it little by little, man, you're gonna have your dream come true. That
Yeah.
masculine is just gonna it's gonna evaporate, it's gonna melt. And,
Wow.
and then who knows, maybe one day your mom and dad will be spinning a circle, holy fuck, you know? Woo! It's
Thank
possible. I've seen
yeah,
it happen
thank
over and over again. When you think the people that would least ever sit with plant medicine are sitting there doing it, and you're going, "What the fuck just happened?"
thank you, brother. Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Wow. Wow. That, that really resonates with a strong calling that I've had for a while now.
Mm,
And that really truly aligns with, I think the way I should approach this. And, it's gonna be her decision, and totally I respect it, and I love her, and, I want my mommy
mm.
to be happy, to
If there's
be in love in love.
if there's anybody that can make this happen, it's you, brother. It's
Let's do
definitely
it,
you
bro.
that can make it
Let's do
happen,
it.
you know?
Let's do it.
Um, how are your siblings? So you have some siblings, brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Okay. And then so I'm sure they've seen this transformation over the last couple of years because when you started your healing, I was there. Like I was there too. The first one where you didn't participate, Um, and then I started, but just to watch that transition. How do your siblings kinda look? Because I know to me, I'm the black sheep of the family. Like I'm like, they're like, what the fuck? What
Yeah.
you doing now?
Yeah.
What did you get involved in now? Yeah, it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
happy. I can fuck you. Yeah. Um, but you know, how has your family been? Are they open minded to it or receptive, or they're just like, that's just Juan doing Juan.
Boy, yeah, I think Juan does whatever Juan wants to do at the end of the day, right? Um, I don't see myself as like a similar like a black sheep of the family by no means. But what? My siblings, so man, like they're so loving. They're so acceptance of everything that I've been through and curious at times and things like that. But I think God works in very beautiful ways. The universe works in so in just in perfect synchronicity. I can't say that word. But no, my siblings, they're amazing. They're amazing. We've been through so much together. I'm the only one in my family that has worked with plant medicine. Besides one of my younger brothers, he sat with ayahuasca down in uh, 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 was this, Sayulita, down in
Okay,
Sayulita, bro. Yeah, yeah, but no, beautiful, yeah, I mean, I think we just talk and we get a moment to kinda express our feelings and things like that, but I think overall, we are a very loving, ch close family, and I just love my family. It's
that's
they're awesome.
that's beautiful. I think one of these years out for Christmas time, I'm gonna just spike the punch with frickin' psilocybin, and they're gonna have conversations and healing. Stay away from the punch, family members. Oh, wow, this hour went so fast.
It did,
As
bro.
we start to close it out, your journey that you've been on and the highs and lows and, now, being awakened and truly being in connection with your heart and soul, all your emotions. How are you showing up as a father now? Because
Yeah.
I kids are teenagers and adults now, so they're older, but, um, how has your experiences as a child and now, going through this journey, how have they, shaped you, as a father?
Yeah, I mean, now I'm in a whole different space that now I understand many things, and my awakening, or healing process started about, I wanna say a little bit over 4 years ago. So before that, now I see the programming or certain teachings that I taught my kids and things like that. Now it's like you said at the beginning, now it's the aftermath, right? But now the aftermath, especially through the journey that I've been through and working with plant medicine and things like that, have really taught me to be patient, patient with the process and loving, and come from a very loving space, um, to understanding my kids, to understand that each one of them is different, and they, and allow them, right? Allow them that space to be creative, and to decide what they want and choose for their own lives. And I mean, I've never pressured my kids into doing anything that I want them to do. No, it's been more like guiding them, and allowing them to discover themselves. And man, just hug them, kiss them, love them every day. Tell them that I love them and show it to them. Um, but yeah, it's just that space of understanding, and loving, bro. Like just a lot of just being patient with the process.
Mm. So let's fast forward 40, 50 years from now. Juan's no longer here on this earth. Your grandkids are doing some research on Juan Gallegos, their grandpa. And what's the message you want to leave for your kids?
Right. That I just want them to live life and love, man. Be happy. Just be happy with whatever the freaking things you guys want to do. Just be happy. Just be happy with the process. Be patient and allow yourself to not feel guilty, shame, or anything that you guys want to do and accomplish out there in life. Um, that grandfather had his faults, but he also went through a healing journey to heal a lot of those things. And because grandpa just wanted to love. Grandpa wanted to love so much and wanted everybody to have the same feeling and understand that we all have the capabilities to vibrate in such a high frequency that it doesn't matter what they're out there and tend to do. Just be happy. Just be happy and serve others. Serve others. Serve others with your full heart. Nothing in return. Never expect nothing in return. The way they see the world, the way they see life, that's the way we should always be seeing life full of love. It's the way we see things, that I see things. It's not how the world is. World is filled with a lot of darkness as well, but it's my choosing to either be involved in that darkness or not, and I choose not to. I choose to be involved in light and love and positivity. That's what moves me, and that's what drives me. It's love. It's love,
Wow.
bro.
Wow. There you have it. Mr. Gallegos himself is, you know, live life, be happy, love unconditionally, and serve without expectations. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Woo, thank you for being vulnerable. Number one, thank you for, um, allowing me to provide a space for you to share because, I'm sure I didn't know it was going to go this way. You know, this way, but,
Oh,
I think it unravels. I think there was a lot of healing here today. A lot of healing,
yeah.
and they say, your healing is my healing, but believe it or not, you sharing really put some things in perspective. And I think, Yeah, I think it's time for me to plan a trip with my dad. Fuck. Right. Well, here we are at another edition of Fatherhood Voices, where our goal is to break the toxic cycles